Hey, good day, viewers. I want to take this time to talk about my experience Christine and I had when we went to my parents' memorial service last Friday on November the 5th. My parents were 90 years old. My mother died September 5th, 2021 of COVID-19. My father died September 14th of COVID-19 shortly after. So here I am, a secular humanist, public speaker, activist, about to venture into starting a secular humanist community under the Oasis National Secular Network. Now, let me explain this experience to you because it's very touching, and I'll try not to get too emotional on this. Yes, I'm an atheist. I identify as a very strong atheist. I think most of you know that, and my belief system is secular humanism. So my concern, of course, was going into a church memorial service knowing that my parents, friends, and their flock of people that they pastored over in Waco, Texas, from 1969 all the way up to the late 80s would be there. The Pentecostal Christians that I was raised with, all my close friends, my childhood friends, people that have watched me through my evolution and my change after I let go of belief in a God back in 1989. So it's been, 32 years ago or so forth. And my experience has led me to say this, that it was a wonderful time. So we got there on the 5th of November at a particular Baptist church in Georgetown, Texas. My sister, who is a very strong Christian, a very sweet, loving person, her husband, had organized a home memorial service. And of course, I was one of the main speakers. My daughter, Victoria, was the first speaker. She's 37. Myself, then my niece, and then my sister spoke. My son wasn't able to prepare. My 35-year-old son, he got in a little bit late. But in saying all that, when we arrived early that day, we met with the family. And I met family members and cousins I haven't seen in decades. Every one of them were all strong believers. And Christy and I were the only non-believers. Now, some of you may be thinking, oh my goodness, you're like Daniel in the lion's den. This is going to be a horrible experience. Well, after we ate, I went into the main church auditorium in a Baptist church, Southern Baptist, and I walked in about 30 minutes prior to the service, right? And the pastor of the church was present. He was going to lead the entire service. And I walked in and I saw a group of people, about 15 or 20 people congregated together. And I walked up closer and there I saw my old gang that I was once a part of with my father in my father's church back in the late 60s, 70s, and 80s. Right? My childhood friends who haven't seen me since I left church back in 1989, 1990. Now, expecting the worst, right? Not knowing what their reaction would be to me. Because they all know what I do. They all know I'm a non-believer now. They all know that I do public speaking for secular humanism. And as soon as I walked closer to them, they saw me coming. I stopped and I put my arms out like this. And they saw me and we came together. And you know what we did? We embraced. We hugged. It was a beautiful experience of human solidarity. Now you're thinking, how can this be? How can an atheist and evangelical Pentecostal Christians and Baptist Christians all find common ground? Now, of course, it was a memorial service in memory of my parents who were pastors, who preached the gospel of Jesus, who raised me in the faith, and others. I understand that. But in light of that, even though they knew my wife and I were atheists, it's as if we continued our relationship where it left off 32 years ago. Now, if you follow my talks, you've seen me change through the years from more of a confrontational, angry atheist to more maturing into my humanism, right? As an atheist, of course, but into my humanism, which is the worth, dignity, and the value of all people, that people are more important than beliefs. That is very true for me. That experience confirmed where I'm going into, the area I'm changing into. It doesn't mean I compromise my stance. It doesn't mean that oh my goodness, I'm going to start believing in God again. No. It means that humans are humans. It means, and it confirms everything that I've been talking about and learning through life experience. And confirmed again just last Friday at this memorial service that we're all the same, folks. People are people. We put aside our differences. Now, sure, I heard a few God bombs. Sure, I heard a few Jesus is Lord. You're going to hear that in that environment. It didn't offend me. I expected it. But for the most part, no one tried to convert me. No one told me why I should come back to Jesus. They just loved me, and I loved them back. They accepted my wife, Christine. It was a great experience. Now, the only person there that I had a hard time relating to, I attempted to, I went out of my way to talk to him, was the senior pastor at that Southern Baptist church. Now, I understand that's his domain, his turf I was invading on. But that's just to be expected. And it may have been expected if he came into our turf from some certain atheists. That was such a wonderful experience. And of course, if you've been to a memorial service, the hardest part of it is the music being played during the slideshow and seeing my parents mature and grow after their marriage back in the 1950s and so forth. So yeah, I'm here to say that it is possible, not with everybody, but with some people, to connect with others and who hold different worldviews, different belief systems, different political parties. We all have that common thread of human love and connectivity. I went out of there reaffirmed and rejuvenated for my love for humanity as a atheist, and even stronger, more importantly, as a secular humanist. The way to change the world is not through hate, is not through divisiveness, even though we still have our differences. It's through trying and attempting every way possible to find things that we are agreeing upon. And that's our human dignity, human love, human connection at a memorial service. So I wanted you to understand this. And even though my father fought like cats and dogs, back in my church years, we'd do preaching trips together as a young man when I was in my 20s. We would do music duets together. I was a pianist. He was a saxophone player and a singer. We would jam together. We would play and perform at Christian parties and churches. We would travel together. He would preach, I would preach. We would do music together. We had that relationship together. We fought like cats and dogs, back even as both believers and myself as a non-believer and he as a Christian. But that thing called love, right? That thing called love just always brought us back together. So let's take this. And let's attempt this with family members, if possible, with friends, with former friends, with our past. Let's attempt to find something that we can share together. That's the only way we can mend our differences and our wounds in this country and the world. We're never going to change. I'm not going to change your mind. They're not going to change my mind. But we can see that we as humanity, as human beings, are more alike than what most of us think. Until we get out of our bubble and talk to other people, you can see that we can make a better world, a more equitable world through human love and respect for humanity. So thanks for watching, my friends. And remember to let the light, the compassion, and the love of secular humanism shine. Have a wonderful day.